Hi, Misha here, and in some ways this is a gun I've wanted for a while, and it might be kind of unassuming. The Zastava M88, and it's also a gun that I paid more for used than what a new one would go for. And towards the beginning of 2021, so 3 years ago and counting now, we took it out to the range, but it didn't go as planned. Here's a refresher, an old clip. Look, M88, first shots. Maybe last. Not sure what ammo this is.
Yeah, it's Wolf.
Wolf. That seemed to like Wolf.
It's a good single shot.
No kidding. Consistent. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, we were having some interesting issues, and what seemed like was happening, and this is perfectly empty safe. I'll slow that out now. But when it was coming back, the slide stop was working its way up. I can do it here on camera. I'll just do it this way. There we go, like that. And it wasn't my finger pushing it. We tried several ways. It was just working up, even with the mag. You know, I've told you guys that personal guns, personal projects, disconnect safely, always take a back seat to customer guns. So yeah, it's been 3 years, but finally going out to the cabin, thought I'm gonna get this working. And I happen to have another one here from that same import batch, so I thought we'd use this as a control. So let's run a few rounds through each one. When we were shooting in the past, that was old, just, you know, steel case Wolf. We do have some 115 grain brass, see if that does any better, and we'll try to troubleshoot and get it working. Hey guys, editing, such as it is, Misha here, and two things. First, I apologize that I sound like I'm in a tin can there. That is totally my bad. We were in a hurry, kind of stealing 10 minutes from lunch break to record the outdoor portion there, and I put the mic on backwards. But I listened to the clips. I think I'm still audible, so I apologize, I know, but I don't think it's worth trying to re-record. And good news is the most of the video isn't that way. Secondly, as always, please do like, share, and subscribe. Help out on Patreon. The day we were actually out with the guns here at the cabin, we started a new Patreon tier called the Range Builder tier, so check that out. But if you can't do that, totally understand. $1 a month helps, and I think I'm going to start putting cat photos as my tier membership photos. What do you think? I just wanted to make that quick little announcement. But with that, let's get back to troubleshooting the M88. Zastava M88. That's what it did the other time. Let's put 5 in. Okay. Alright, the second M88. Alright, so that one did pretty well. So I will say the first pistol here, 23,000 or 22,000 was doing better with the brass 115, but still not perfect. It wasn't at least a true single shot, I think, because it had a little more power, but it was still riding up. And when I was moving this, I could find some grit. On the other hand, we were quickly able to determine it at least wasn't necessarily an ammo problem, because pistol number 2 was running fine, plus a little bit slicker there. So the next thing, if it's not ammo, we'll try the mags. Now when I got these in, even though the pistols are old, they did ship them with new production M88 mags. So we're going to swap mags around and see if that fixes it. So this is the second mag in the first M88. Yeah, what's happening, and it did this years ago, is that's riding up. So when you do that, if I hold it down, try this without hurting myself, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why that keeps walking up. think there's a burr there or something. Alright, let's try the other mag in the second gun. Second gun, first mag. Alright, so it's not a mag issue.
Not the mags.
Nope. So, not a mag thing. Not an ammo thing. The problem does seem to be in the slide stop, the release. So like any Tokarev, you just pull this back. I use a rim of a bullet, pop it back, pop it out. Let's swap them around. I asked J-Ro if they were numbered to the pistols, and he said they were not. So I see no issues in doing that. All right, so this is the first pistol again, but I took the slide stop from the second. So that ran. Now I put the first slide stop in the second pistol. Let's see what happens. So yeah, swapping the stop made pistol number 1 start working, but if its stop was bad, what's going to happen if we put it in pistol number 2? Alright, second pistol, but the first pistol slide stop. Interesting. Maybe it's just a parts fitment thing. So it's working. And this is working. Why do I like this? What's the purpose? Why did I pay more for a used gun, especially one that's making me troubleshoot, than a new one? Well, let's go to the table and talk some history. Yugoslavia was friendly with the Warsaw Pact and, of course, the USSR because of the shared common bond of communism, but Tito's party established with little to no help, which did make some strife, but it also gave some sneaking admiration. It happens. It was Stalin. He was a weird man. So after World War II, they wanted to adopt several Soviet-style guns, or their own derivatives of, including the Tokarev TT-33. And at first, Russia was amenable to this, and they even began shipping TT-33s and other guns to Yugoslavia, which was proudly a member of what would become known as the Third World. And that was not a derogatory term at that time. It set them apart: First World, Second World, Third World. It was saying, we are separate but equal, we have our own interests, we're in the middle. Yeah, and Yugoslavia was one of the champions of this, one of the loudest voices. Yeah, it's very interesting. But around 50, 51, Tito and Stalin had a falling out. I know, it's crazy to think that it's hard to get along with Stalin. Not that Tito was a great guy, but I don't know. So what had happened, they did not have enough sidearms. So by 1952, Zastava was ordered to just clone the TT-33. And by 1954, they did just that. The first guns they offered and they showed off were exact copies of a late-style TT-33. And I brought out my Chinese Type 54 just because it's a good example of a late style without the added safety, because this is what the original 1954 Zastava version looked like. It was really just an exact copy, different grips, markings, but otherwise the same. So why did this not go into production? And why does this look so different from this? Well, Zastava was busy. For one, they were making the M88 Mauser, their first unified Mauser. They were also making derivatives of German machine guns, and they were making this, the M49 submachine gun. And this is really where they standardized on the 7.62 x 25 Tokarev cartridge, because it's really good out of a subgun. I've done full videos on this. It looks like a Papa Shaw to a lot of folks. It isn't. It actually has a lot of Beretta DNA. So they really wanted to keep that cartridge, but they were just full up. So the whole project got shelved until around 1956, when those that be in the military said, you know, we really do need a handgun, and it needs to be for this new cartridge. Well, new to them anyway. So in 1956, not only did those that be in the military convince Zastava to resurrect the Tokarev cloning program. Again, they're still on the outs with Russia, because even though Stalin died in 53, the essentially cancellation of military aid was still in place. They even had introduced some machine gun chambered for Tokarev, the M56 here, which is very much inspired by, but not a clone copy of, the MP40. And so we really need a pistol to go with it. So the program was resurrected by 1957, but now they don't want to just copy, like this Chinese here, they want to improve. The longer grip, the extra capacity mag, that's often talked about 8 versus 9 rounds. Not always mentioned. The front sight on a standard Tokarev is just there, and it's just a smooth top. On the Yugo, it's actually a dovetailed front sight with a anti-glare serration here, so better sighting, and a really cool Yugo crest. A small change that may get overlooked, but I really like, is the enlarged mag release here versus just the small. It's a convex smooth button on most Tokarevs. On the M57, it's a concave patterned checkered type button. It's just larger, easier to use, makes sense. Also like the longer grip. Yeah, you get an extra shot, it just gives you better grip, and it seems to have more of a kind of curve back. Of course, we have unique Yugoslavian military style markings. We have a couple of internal changes. Again, your real Tokarev just has the half cock. That's really your only safety besides what's between your ears. And if you'd like to know why neither of these have an added safety, we've done videos in the past, so just search the channel for Tokarev. But for Yugoslavia, they actually added a magazine disconnect safety. So when the mag's out, you cannot drop the hammer. I get it. It's at least something. They also went to a different pattern of firing pin, which was meant to improve things. And they also went from a standard, just, free-floating spring that comes out to a captive spring unit, which does make disassembly a little easier. So they really did make some improvements with the pistol. Took them a couple of years. The first pre-productions were ready for trials in 1960. They were officially accepted and designated as the M57 in 1961. And because Zastava was still pretty busy but had some capacity, it took them a couple of years to tool up. But by 1963, the M57 was in full rate production and would remain there for decades. And they would not make near as many M49s and 4957s. And of course, the M56 is a story in and of itself. I just brought them out because they're all chambered for the same cartridge. But that gets us to kind of the evolution of the family. Things would continue apace. Sometimes Zastava would get a license, like with the M59 SKS, which was literally given to them by Khrushchev to try to reestablish relations. But other times, as they'd done with the Tokarev, unlicensed, they would copy with the M70 Kalashnikov and M72 RPK-inspired variants. And they would also move closer to the West, or at least Western calibers and exports as time would go on. We can see this with the earliest 5.56 chambered AKs, the M80 and the later M85, and of course the M90 and M95, but it would happen with handguns too. And their first real break with tradition was the M70 here, chambered for 7.65 Browning, 32 caliber. This was a very popular little handgun round in Europe, had been and would continue to be, and these were just meant to be a smaller, lighter version for police, officers, maybe for export too. And it's a simplified Tokarev system, but otherwise very much the same. There would also be the M70A, which was the M57, identical in size, except it fired 9x19 Parabellum, 9mm NATO Luger. So the M70A looks just like the M57. The reason I do have an M70 and 32, but not an M70A, I'm sure some M70As ended up in the Yugoslavian military, especially during the civil wars, but it was mainly for export, whereas the little 32 was meant for domestic use as well. Plus, if you can't tell, I just prefer surplus guns. This is a surplus M57. This is a surplus M70, which explains why I wanted this M88. The Yugoslavian government would continue purchasing M57s for the military, for police, for government use through the 80s. But finally, by 1982, it's getting a little long in the tooth. They also would introduce the M57A with an added safety if needed. So it is one of the legitimate versions. They would build over 250,000, probably quite a few more than that, for the government. And they would keep making them for export, even when they make them to this very day. But the government knew they needed to go to something a little more modern. And with the experience of the M70A, they decided their next gun would be 9x19. So by 1987, work began on this. And this really is right in between these two guns, and was supposed to be Yugoslavia's next standard issue sidearm. Going by the specs, the pistol, now designated M88 for its initial year, is right there. This is about 32 ounces unloaded. The M70 and 32 is between 23 and 24 ounces unloaded. And the M88 was about 27 ounces with these grips. Lengthwise, the 57 is just over 7.5 inches long. The M70 is 6.5 inches. And this is just a teensy hair under 7 inches. And it continues on with the barrel. Just over 4.5 inches. This is about 3 3/4. And this is just slightly longer, mostly because of the cartridge, at about 3.8, 3.85 inches. Yeah, really is right in the middle. 9-round capacity, 8-round capacity. And I believe this is 7. It might be 8, but I haven't shot it in a while, if I'm being honest with you. What's interesting, the features are pretty well the same. So it's just a good old durable Tokarev. So the real improvement they did was just switching cartridges. Everything else stayed the same. And of course, there would be an M88A with added safety as well. And as far as I know from the get-go, they plan to either offer synthetic Bakelite type grips or walnut grips here. So back here, this is that M57, of course. Pretty standard Tokarev, of course, longer grip. Single action only. Decocker. Side release. You know the deal. Enlarged mag catch, which I actually really do like, because the original one is a little fidgety. And of course, their next release, the M70, it's just adorable. Funny enough, these do not have a half cock. But all I've seen do have the safety. I don't know. Still single action. Still comes apart like the others, but it does not have the catch there. So you just push that out. And it's not a true locked bridge. So finally, yeah. This is the standard. We do have a safety. And we do have that magazine disconnect. And even though the grips do look very different, they attach just like any other Tokarev. So it is really right in between size-wise too. And they do shoot quite well. Which is fun. Very simple, very durable guns with, I think, kind of a neat, very late Yugoslavian history. So, this repaired first gun here worked fine. But, since we're still kind of talking function, let's put another mag through it just to make sure the first one wasn't just a fluke. Alright, first pistol again with the second slide stop, but I did put the other mag in. Okay.
No problema.
Alright. Alright, doing good and ejecting fine, holding open even. And similarly, let's make sure we haven't screwed up the second gun. And just to be safe, second pistol with the first pistol slide stop. That just sounds good.
Clink.
Cool beans. So, to answer the question, why did I want this? Now, I could have purchased the new production M88A. Looks identical, except, nice new modern bluing, synthetic grips, and was actually cheaper. These were more money, like $100 more, like $150 versus $250 if memory serves. Again, it's been over 3 years. But I love the history, and they actually still say Yugoslavia on them. The safety, I don't know if that was originally there. If it was added, it was done very tastefully, including relieving the grip for it. And the import mark is done very tastefully. It's on the underside of the trigger guard. I like that. The same with the 57 here. And you've seen my other Yugoslavian guns, like that M56 submachine gun. This just matches, and it was to be the next gun, and they did make them. I don't know how many, but this one having a serial of 24,000 seems to be on the higher end. So at a very, very, very rough guesstimate, 25 to 30,000 might have been built in the late 80s through early to mid 90s. But of course, after 92, Yugoslavia broke up and things happened, and you do see these used in the war, especially with the wood grips. That's what really was iconic to me. I think these are really neat with the medallion in them. Good, honest wear. And they would serve in a small role alongside the M57 through that decade, finally getting replaced by another Zastava creation, the CZ99. But that would take time to phase out. So you would see any of these pistols in service 1999, 2000, even a little bit later. And there's been several importers of the new productions like EAA, Century Arms, Fime Group out of Las Vegas, aka Arsenal. But as far as the surplus M88s, because not many were made and not many survived the wars, I've only seen 1 or 2 batches. So when they popped up, I had to just snap them up. I grabbed a couple extras and sold those off a couple years ago, but I was reluctant to do anything with these last 2 until I could get both working. And seems like we have. The M88 was supposed to be the next sidearm. In the end, it ended up just being a secondary gun, probably carried more by police than actual military. There are also reports of it being used in training camps, which makes sense. Keep your few CZ99s for the front lines and let people practice with 9mm NATO, Parabellum, Luger, with a gun that not only you have, but also is just durable and dependable. I'm not saying the 99 isn't, but one good thing about a Tokarev, it's difficult to break one. So, yeah, I could see it being a great second-line police gun, training gun. And these were there in the wars, and it was the final gun in the series with roots back to the whole Tito-Stalin split. And it just really keeps on the story, at least to me, but that's just me. So, let's have some final thoughts. Dual wielding for GoldenEye. So yeah, I'm actually glad I had the second pistol. I don't like swapping parts if I don't have to, but if both are running, and if the parts are not numbered, and they're obviously both original, they're within a couple of thousand serial numbers of each other, I see no harm in doing that if everything works. And even though most of our videos are just about reviewing new guns or talking about old history guns, I have to admit, there's a certain satisfaction in troubleshooting an old gun and getting it up and running. So I'm glad I did. It only took me, like I said at the beginning, 3 years to get this pistol going. I kind of like this one a little better. There's hardly a difference in the two. Feature-wise, they're identical. Condition-wise, There's something about this one I like just a teensy bit more. So, yeah. And it really is just a cool part of history. The current M88As are fine. They use the exact same mags, same construction. Of course, they have far less wear, and they have the Bakelite style grips. But, come on, that's just cool. But what do you think? It's a little bit of a different video for us. And do you like troubleshooting, or does it just drive you crazy? Trial and error, part of the game. Normally, I'd like to bring out more than one type of 9mm, but we're kind of in that beggars can't be choosers time of ammunition. So, got it going. But let me know what you think. Let me know what's your favorite Yugoslavian pistol. One day I would like to pick up one of their CZ99s too. I've had them in the past, even ones that were marked Yugoslavia. They're just unique, cool, different. But yeah, let me know. We can discuss in the comments. As always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more cabin videos. We recorded several that day. And on behalf of the team, we'll catch you very soon.